Doja Cat, born Amala Ratna Zandile Dlamini, is quite an unconventional person, and as you can probably guess, she also had quite an unconventional childhood. Born on the 21st of October 1995 in suburban Tarzan, California, it seems that Doja was always destined to work in the arts. On her mother's side, she came from a great lineage of visual artists, both her mother and grandmother being painters, her grandma even owning her own gallery back in the day, which she used to sell her artwork. And from her father, Dumisani Dlamini, the legendary South African singer, dancer, actor, and producer, Doja inherited her musical and dance abilities, her musical gift being something that came so naturally to her that in her lifetime, she has only had a handful of piano lessons, teaching herself to produce years later with production software. As soon as she popped out the womb, Doja and her family, which includes a handful of brothers and sisters, though how many or who they are, we don't know, moved to Rye, the Bronx in NYC. They would stay there until she was 5 years old, the only memory that Doja has of New York being, I remember holding my mum's hand, walking through hectic New York City, and I was so small that all these adult butts just kept hitting me in the face. And then the timeline of Doja's family and location gets a little messy. It was probably around the time that she left New York, or maybe a few years earlier, that Doja's father decided to leave America, as after spending over a decade away from his home in South Africa, he was homesick. There were plans for Doja, her mother, and her siblings to eventually move to South Africa to join her father, but they eventually fell through. So, when she was 5 years old, Doja's mother, Deborah Elizabeth Sawyer, drove the family back to California to a new home in an ashram in Sherman Oaks. Doja hasn't talked much about this time in her life, but what she has said hasn't been great.
And we lived on an ashram for about 4 years. It was just really constricting for me. Even though it was beautiful and there was a lot of nature, I felt like I couldn't be a kid because you have to wrap your head and cover your everything and you can't show your shoulders. It was a huge part of my life for sure.
But it wasn't all bad, and she was still able to access the artistic inspiration that would set the foundation for her music later in life. For example, at school, her mother enrolled her at extracurricular dance, tap, and ballet classes. At that place in the ashram and back in New York, her mum, a serious hip-hop and R&B enthusiast, would play her favorite artists all the time around Doja, including Tupac, Aaliyah, DMX, D'Angelo, Erykah Badu, and Jamiroquai. She especially loved Jamiroquai. However, it wasn't until the family left the ashram and moved to the suburbs that Doja really got to indulge in everything she wanted to. Finding it hard to focus in school, and while being inside, she would later be diagnosed with ADHD, she spent nearly all of her time outdoors, picking up skateboarding, surfing, spending many summers at surfing camp, and most importantly, breakdancing, which would be her main creative outlet in her teens and also inspire her taste in music. As a preteen, she had loved a mix of Amy Winehouse, the first album that she received from her mother, Rihanna, the first album that she bought with her own money, and Lady Sovereign. But as she grew up, her taste in music evolved to more hip-hop and pop sounds. Kellis, Gwen Stefani, Busta Rhymes, Christina Aguilera, Pharrell, and Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj was especially influential. Being a naturally creative spirit, fun fact, she used to make laptop models out of paper as a child, Doja carried on expressing herself in whatever medium felt best as a teenager, and when she was 14, she decided to start her own YouTube makeup channel. Makeup was something that she was quite passionate about, having had lots of experience creating looks as a kid in the bathroom using her mum's makeup. But when her mum found out about this particular pursuit, she immediately told her to shut it down, scared that Doja might get in trouble online being so young. But still, Doja found a way to express herself. School certainly wasn't helping. It got so bad that she used to cry in class, not knowing what to do. I hated math so much and used to be stressed out in the back of math class, crying because it was like a nightmare. I used to sit there like, what is going on? I want to write something down on the paper, but I don't understand anything, so I can't. So I just sat there and wait for time to pass and draw D's and eyeballs. I spent a lot of time in the hallways dancing, and I was in the dance clique, which was helping her express some of that angst that she had trapped inside of her from years being constricted in the ashram. Though there isn't footage of it now, Doja used to dance at organized dance battles across Los Angeles and regularly dance with a crew. But that wasn't the only way that she was finally letting off some steam. As a teenager, she started to discover all the unmoderated social media platforms that she could use to get a little attention. It started off with MySpace rap battles that she would conduct using her keyboard against anyone that was online. Then she moved on to Twitter, where she experimented experimented with some choice words, though according to her, she had already used them 15,000 times, against Tyler the Creator, apparently because she was trying to get his attention. And then finally, when she was a little older and had dropped out of high school, Doja moved onto online chat rooms, where she would sharpen her edgelord sense of humor. In the 11th grade, Doja decided to drop out of high school and probably had been thinking about it for quite some while, and decided to lock herself up in her room until she found what she wanted to do next with her life. At the time, she was experiencing really bad depression, smoking a lot of weed because it made her feel cool, hanging out with a lot of people that she later described as not good for her, and just going to a lot of parties and doing nothing. It wasn't until she started playing around with the MIDI keyboard controller that her boyfriend had sent her as a surprise present that she finally found what she wanted to do. Doja has recalled that she would sleep on the mattress on the floor, keep her laptop nearby so she could surf the web before she went to sleep, and would just spend every day and night surfing YouTube to find music that she liked. To make it clear, it's not like she initially set out to be a musician. She had always kind of dabbled in rap ever since her babysitter had forced her to.
Yeah, when I was like 8, I had like 2 babysitters. This is crazy, by the way, if I actually told you who these babysitters were. But the oldest one would be on MySpace, like around and like trying to like rap, but like definitely couldn't. She was like posing as me. She'd be at the laptop and I'd be like, yeah, say that. I think I rhymed Marilyn Monroe with stupid ass. And it was so bad. It was so bad. But yeah, no, I mean, I was 8.
And had also sang at the ashram, but it was only when a MIDI keyboard turned up at her door and she thought might as well do something with this and started producing that she finally decided to sing and rap over the beats she made, with a little encouragement from her friends. In the beginning, she chose unpopular lo-fi beats from YouTube, loaded them onto GarageBand, and used to sing very quietly into her laptop's microphone with a blanket over her head, as she didn't like her voice and didn't want her family to hear. At that point, I had a system already, kind of. I'd make a song, put it on SoundCloud, then I'd go on YouTube, and I'd post 2 songs a month. I would do pictures and edit them and make album covers. It was super fun for me. After a few months of trying with no success, Doja eventually came to write So High, which she uploaded onto SoundCloud and cried when she gained 2 likes. More importantly, the song led her to being introduced to Yeti Beats, the guy who has a producer's credit on nearly every song on Doja's first album, as well as Bottom B and Juicy, through a mutual on Facebook, and that would be the real starting point of Doja's musical journey. She started going to the studio every day when she was 17 with Yeti Beats, though she was usually high off her mind, and a year later, when So High started to do really well on independent music blogs across the internet, she signed with RCA Records, the deal coming with temporary management from Rock Nation. So High was eventually released alongside her debut EP, Per, in 2014, which didn't do amazing or anything, but it did mark the starting point of Doja Cat in the mainstream music industry, and set her on her way to become the formidable, innovative artist that she is today. The next few years of Doja's life would be filled with drinking, partying, smoking, and not a lot of music, until she was finally able to get off the green in late 2016 and start writing for her debut album, Amala, which would be released in early 2018. If you would like a part 2 on everything that has happened after Amala, comment down below. What do you think the future holds for the formidable Crazy Cat Lady? Do you wish that Doja had stayed a makeup guru and would have somehow been involved with Dramageddon 1 or 2.0? Don't you think Planet Her sounds and looks so much more appealing than a certain Oreo-infested fantasy land? JK, Rain on Me was a bop. Let me know in the comments down below, like the video, and subscribe if you're new.
Hi, I'm Aisha Erotica.
Hi, I'm Aisha Erotica. I'm 13 years old and I'm a porn star. My television show Smoking Hot comes out May 28th, 2016. Make sure to watch it.
When you meet